Hello, hello, welcome. Hope everyone is doing well. Welcome to our beginning live chat. So, for the first like 30 minutes where you introduce yourself, you say hi, I'm gonna get all my paints out, get all my brushes. If you have any questions about what I do, when I do it, how I do it, supplies or anything like that, just let me know. If you are watching the replay of this later, definitely look in the bottom of the description. Not the bottom of the description, but in the description there should be timestamps that I will add, and you can skip this part if you don't want to be there. I apologize if you hear car noises. People are leaving our lot right now, and the window's open. So, yeah. How is everyone doing? It's been a moment. I haven't been doing vlogs lately because I have some exciting news that I can't share yet, but so stay tuned for that. But I don't know if you've noticed, but we changed around our room a little bit. So now I'm on this corner versus I was in that corner. So let's see, who is here? Hello, are you first? Maybe you are first. Hello, where are you from? I'm in San Diego, and it like cooled down for a little bit, which was fantastic, but now it's like getting warmer again, and I don't like it. I don't want it to be warm anymore. But hopefully you're all doing well. I've seen so many photos on Facebook of just snow everywhere. So let me know if you're like in snow. I would love to know. I miss the snow. I used to live in Northern California, and I grew up with snow, you know. But here in San Diego, we don't get snow, so kind of sad. I'm just gonna get out some of my materials. I'm gonna get my apron on. So let me know if you are. Are you guys a apron person, or are you a like old t-shirt type of person? I feel like if I had an old t-shirt, I might wear it, but it would need to be like really big, because me sitting down all the time, I will drop brushes like on my legs all the time because I'm clumsy like that, and I'll get paint on like whatever pants I'm wearing. So I have to have an apron that covers my whole body, pretty much. Let's see. Hello, I'm gonna be. Oh, you're from St. Louis. Hello. We had snow here. I would totally trade with you. No. As much as I love the snow, I wish it wasn't COVID so we could like visit the snow. Show us what we are going to paint today. Oh, paint. We are painting the unicorn. Let's see if I can remember where it is. I'll go get it for you. So whenever I prepare for classes, I will I usually do them on like a not like an actual canvas, but canvas paper. So I have a whole stack of all of the classes that I've ever taught. So if you guys ever want a video of me going through all my classes, let's see, where is it? Is it in this one? Oh, that's further away. I think it's in a previous one. Oh, hey! Thank you, Mike, for the $2. $1.99. Thank you for the tip. Hello from Ontario. Oh, you're an old shirt. Ellen, you're an old shirt person. Where did my other one go? I have two of them because that one is too big. Here we go. So this one, as you can tell, it's full of paintings, so I started a new one. Oh, here we go. This is what we are painting. So it's a very, very pretty, colorful background. I will have this on the page when we start. This is just the welcome page. So yeah, let's see. Let me go to this so I can actually see what I'm doing. There we go. Like that. So you can change this unicorn to a normal horse, or if you want it, somebody said that they wanted to change it to a wolf. You can do that. That's totally fine. You do not have to do a unicorn, but I'm going to be teaching a unicorn. I came on a lot of your classes. Welcome. What are the colors? We will be going over all of the colors at the very beginning of class. But essentially here, let me bring it up just so I can also get my paints ready. I believe I remember all the colors, but I want to make sure that I am getting all the colors I need. Okay, so in this, sorry for my awkward bag of things. I usually get all these out beforehand, but I spaced on it, but that's okay. We are going to be using, let's see, I know I'm doing black and white, so you can get your black and white out. And then I'm using phthalo blue because it's a little bit of a warmer blue. I feel like it's just a prettier blue, but you can use ultramarine blue if you want. That's totally fine. And then, let's see, I'm going to be using pink. So we have black, white, blue, pink, and yellow. If you wanted to use purple and orange in this, you can. But honestly, those three colors for the background, the yellow, the pink, and the blue, the colors in between are just going to mix naturally, so you really don't need those extra colors. Again, you can have them if you would like to. But honestly, you can just pre-mix them a little bit on your palette before you put it on your canvas, and it should be fine. Also, I tend to, if you pre-mix the colors that you're all using, it tends to blend better and have less of a contrast between those colors because it's naturally blending versus you putting every single one of those colors, like colors of the rainbow, on there, instead of having like three colors and having those colors naturally blend. But it's up to you. So I just need to get my white. Did I already get my black? I need my black. And my black. Oh, I'm running out of black. And that's it. Let's see. Let me just make sure. Yep, black, white, blue, pink, and yellow. Pretty easy colors. Let's see. Everyone's here. Hi Pam, first class. Awesome. We're glad to have you. I was talking about earlier if you are a apron person or if you're a big shirt person. And I was saying how because a lot of times I will paint sitting down that I'll have like things fall on me and get my pants. So I have to have an apron that like covers that. Otherwise I would just be a throw on a big t-shirt and go for it. So let me know what you like better. Hello, Michelle. Yeah, and let me know if this is your first time painting or if it's just your first time painting with me. Well, that reminds me, my husband, if you are listening, I need my palette from the kitchen. Normally, okay, so for anyone who's just joining and hasn't like been with me for like the last, I don't know, 3 or 4 months, you'll know that I used to teach in my kitchen, which you couldn't really tell because I had like a backdrop and everything, but usually everything was just like right there, so I like never forget anything like in the kitchen. So it's like, oh, I forgot my palette, or oh, I forgot to get water or whatever. I need to just have a checklist that I like. Okay, water, paper towel, palette. And a lot of times I will actually, I forgot my palette because a lot of times I have like a ceramic tile that I really like using because it's so easy to clean. If anybody's had like a ceramic palette before, they'll know how easy it is to clean. But for classes, I usually will use a plastic clear just palette so that everybody else can see what I'm doing and I can hold on, hold up my palette. So normally I will just use this, which is right here, but I'm not using that right now. So you're an apron person. Yep. Big shirt person. Hello from Chicago. Hello. Is this anybody's first time painting? I always love to know if I have first timers with me. Sometimes it helps me gauge just the class and how fast we should go, or things like that. I'm really excited for this one though. When I was painting it, so the joys of painting online classes is that, so I'll prep my classes. So I painted this probably, I want to say like a month and a half ago. And with that, painting it a month and a half ago, which means I have to wait a month and a half before I can paint it again, which is just sad. But it's fine. It's kind of the way it goes, but I wish I could paint it sooner. Hello. From, is it Villa Grove or Via Grove? I live in San Diego now, where everything, like 2 L's, is a Y sound, and most things are Spanish and Mexican sounding. For the longest time when I lived here, when I first moved here, I thought La Jolla was La Jolla. I definitely called it that a couple times, and my husband would just laugh at me. He'd be like, that's not how you say it. I'm like, how do you say it? La Jolla. Oh. Yes, me and my 7-year-old daughter, first timers. Yay! Well, welcome. Welcome. As just was put into the chat, I do have an artist community. So if you're not a part of that, we get to feel free to join. And I let everyone. I'll usually have a class where, oh, I forgot to put in a new, I can do that now. Can I do that now? I'll do it after. Maybe I'll do it now. So I will add a album where everybody can put in and share their artwork. It's really fun. It's really great. So later people can just look at everybody who painted that, and they'll be able to look at that and then be like, oh, I want to paint this, and I can follow the link, and it's really fun. And just being able to see everybody else's who's, in the class tonight is really fun. I use a clear dish covered with plastic wrap for my palette. Nice! That is super easy cleanup. Not gonna lie. I've definitely used plates before because they're ceramic and super easy to clean. Hi from New York. Oh wait, York, not New York. York, Pennsylvania. Excited to paint with me. Yay! Welcome. Okay, I'm gonna go get my palette real quick, and I will see you in a second. Don't go anywhere. Alright, so these are the two that I have. Let me switch so I can see what I'm doing. Let's see. Okay, so these are the two palettes that I have and that I use. I will say that they aren't extremely easy to clean. Like, you have to clean it pretty much right after you use it. If you want an easy clean, because if you let it sit overnight, for some reason this type of plastic, it just sticks to it, which is unfortunate. I want to try to get something a little bit easier to clean, they're really good for these types of classes, and I will say that they're really, really, really good for palette knife classes. So the next one I'm painting, let's see if I have it in here. I think I should have it in here. Yes, so this is my next one that we're doing. It is a palette knife class. It's a ballerina, if you didn't guess that. But we're using palette knives. So the flat palette is really, really great for palette knife classes. So typically when I'm painting a not palette knife class, I will just use the small one. It's really great. It's smaller and it's easy. I think that's the medium size. And then I have this larger for when I'm doing either a larger canvas or I'm doing palette knife where I need more space to grab the paint. So those are very helpful. All the supplies that I use personally are in the description. So if you ever wanted to use something that I'm specifically using, with the exception of the paint. The paint that I'm using, it is heavy body acrylic, but it is like this, like this paint that I'm using. It's magenta, but it's from Aaron Brothers. So I've had this pink since before Aaron Brothers got absorbed into Michaels. So you can't find that pink anymore, but it's just magenta. Let's see. Let me read some of the comments. Hello, my daughter and I are joining for my birthday today. Ah, welcome. Happy birthday. We have from Canada, Ontario, Canada, from Springfield, Oregon. Excited to meet you. This is your third painting class. So third painting class like online, or have you done painting classes in person too? And then Pamela, sorry, I missed your question. You asked, can you watch the video after class? And you can. All my classes, all my free live classes will stay saved to my YouTube, and I end up putting all of my live classes, my live replays, into a folder, or not a folder, a playlist on YouTube. So you can go back and look at any of the classes that I've previously done, and you can paint them there. So, okay, they've been online. Cool. Yeah, I actually used to teach regularly at a coffee shop. So that's actually where I, for the most part, got started. I technically got started teaching at Michaels. Okay, let me do a poll real quick. Did you know that Michaels has painting classes, like art classes? Let me know if you knew that, because I feel like there are a ton of people who don't know that. And which is why I ended up leaving, because I would only have one person signed up. And most of the time, if they didn't have 2 or more people signed up, I'd have to cancel the class. So there was this one girl who actually started coming. She eventually found me, and is now she's now one of my students for a long time. Her name is Gloria. And she would always sign up, but then I kept having to cancel on her because nobody else would sign up, because I just, like, no one knows that Michaels has classes. So I ended up stopped doing that, and I was just like, because I wasn't able to promote them in the way that, like, it's just hard to promote when, like, sometimes you're not allowed to with, you know, Michaels and everything. So I ended up just creating my own classes and doing it that way, and it was great. Yeah, so a lot of people didn't know. Yeah. They do have crafting classes. They have cake classes, like cake decorating. When I worked there, I don't know if they did watercolor, but they definitely had acrylics. I did acrylics and drawing. I did a couple drawing classes, but yeah, it's just weird. Shout out from Iowa, first time. Welcome. Thank you. YouTube name. I did not know Michaels has paint classes. YouTube name for what? For Michaels? They had in-person classes. I don't know about now. I haven't researched that. I haven't worked there for like 4 or 5 years. When I started my business in face painting, actually, for those of you who know my previous work before COVID was party services and entertainment. I would do in-person like paint parties and stuff. Hi Betty. But that's kind of how I got into painting, teaching painting specifically, was through Michael's, and then that it just wasn't working out, which is why I started doing it on my own, and I love it now. Hi from Denver. Hello, first class. All right, welcome. Welcome. Just a few announcements. I do have my my artist community, so you can find it through my Facebook. Everything, with the exception of my Instagram, which is Samantha Anderson Artist SD for San Diego. Everything, my YouTube, my Facebook group community, which is Facebook/groups/ everything is Samantha Anderson Artist at the end. And I also have just a link if you, let's see, over there? No, that way. Over to your left, I have the link tree. All of my links for my YouTube, my Instagram, my Facebook, my Patreon, everything is in that link. So if you go to that link, you can find all my other social medias. Hello from New York. Hello Deborah. Hello Christy. Hello Sherry. Second class with me. Great. Welcome. Bruce, hello. I can't wait to see what everybody creates too. My YouTube channel, yes, it's Samantha Anderson Artist. You should be on it right now. Maybe you're on Facebook watching. But yeah, YouTube/Samantha Anderson Artist. Karen is from New York. Hello, welcome. Other announcements is for there's Chiv and help support the free classes and everything. You can give by donating a tip, which all that information is on your left. And then I also have a Patreon. So starting at $5, you can give $5 a month, and you can get access to quick tip videos, polls, and helping me decide what we want to teach for the live classes. For $7 up, you get an extra 2 to 3 classes a month, so that's really fun. They're not live classes, they're just videos that you can stop and play back anytime you want. And you'll get access from everything from here till when I started in October. So there's probably a dozen classes that you'll have access to if you join that. So that's a lot of fun. So if you want to become a patron or a patron, definitely check that out. Or if you just want to give a one-time donation, that's totally fine too. And again, that's totally optional. You do not have to do that, but it does help me, keep doing these free and help. I'm looking into getting a better camera so you guys can see better of me and what I'm doing. But yeah, all right. Hello from Ontario and Ranburne, Alabama. Hello. Hello from Michigan. This is your first class with me. Welcome. Hello, Rebecca from Kansas. It's so exciting hearing from where everybody's from. That's really exciting for me. Obviously, when I was teaching at the Brew Coffee spot in La Mesa, I literally, had a 5-mile radius of where people were from for the most part. So I never was able to paint with people from all over the world, really, truly. And because even there's people from India who will watch, after it's live, they'll watch the next day and be able to, share their work on the artist community. So that's a lot of fun. But yeah, we have about 6 more minutes before we jump in. So let me make sure I have all of my supplies out. One thing that we will be doing is stars. So if you've never done stars before, I will be using an old toothbrush. This is one of my kids' old toothbrush, but it works really great because look at how frayed this is. It works great because it's frayed, but so that's what I use. If you don't have a old toothbrush, you can use a a fan brush, or an old stiff, let's see, it looks nice right now, but it's actually a really old. I have this one that I will use for stars because it's pretty, it gets frayed once you start dabbing it, and that works as well. If you have a stiffer brush, it works better, which is why toothbrushes are actually really good, because it's stiff. So I will be using that. Sorry, I just hit my mic. Hello everyone. Ooh, I have a sneeze. It's like, do I want to sneeze so I just get it over with? Okay. I didn't say what size canvas tonight. I always use 11 by 14 because I feel like it's the easiest to get the most amount of detail without going too crazy big. But honestly, you can use whatever size you want. You can use a panel, you can use a canvas pad, tape the edges. That's usually what I use for all of my classes that I teach in Patreon, as well as whenever I do a class for you guys to prepare, I will use a canvas pad. And these are amazing because they're like a fraction of the cost, and they're really easy to frame if you wanted to frame it. Or if you don't want to frame it, like, it's super space saving. There we go. I have like 20, I have like 20 paintings in here, and it's taking up like no space at all, versus one canvas is taking up 3 times the amount of space. So it's really dependent on your preference. I usually teach with a canvas, a stretched canvas, with a frame, because that's what most people paint on. But if you're just painting for you and it's not to give to anyone and you're just practicing, and I would highly suggest getting a pad because they are great. Where do I buy my canvases? Sorry. Canvases, I buy them from Hobby Lobby because it's the closest, most affordable place for me. If you buy anything from the dollar store, which a lot of people do, I would suggest priming it first, because they either don't come primed or they are just lower quality, so it's good to get a few coats of just a gesso or something like that. I have my volume up to the limit. Can you check your microphone? I can turn this up just a little bit. I don't know. I don't want the gain to be too loud though, so sometimes it gets distorted. I will be facing this way when I'm teaching. I'm just facing kind of a little bit away from the mic right now, so I will get a little bit louder when I start teaching. We'll go over the colors in just a minute and a half. Yeah, we'll go over in just a few minutes. Yeah, so I'm using 11 by 14, but you can use whatever you want. If you have a square canvas, you'll probably have to cut out some of the sky, and maybe a little bit of the bottom where the black is, but you could use one of those too. Some people have just painted on round canvases and shells and rocks and all sorts of things, so there's really no limit to what you can paint on. For anyone asking about supplies, I do have links in the description. If you wanted to buy from Amazon, I do have links of stuff that I recommend, that I suggest on there, that if I didn't buy it locally, that I would buy. So if you were interested in that, you could look below. But other than that, yeah. So someone was asking a question. Is there any specific shade of pink we should be using? Okay. not necessarily. I will be using a lighter pink to help blend between the yellow that we'll be using, to have a lighter thing, but I'll go over specifically what I'm using when we get there. Okay, so let's go ahead and start class, and see you in a second. All right, hello, welcome to class. Super excited to have everybody here. If you're just joining us, leave a comment below. Let me know where you're from, maybe how long you've been painting, if you're painting with somebody. Hi Linda, welcome. And we'll go over supplies here in just a second. We'll let a few more people jump in here before we get started, because I know there were a ton of people who RSVP'd for this, so hopefully they didn't forget and they come all in. I'm gonna wait just like a few minutes for everybody to filter in, because I know a lot of people think that it is at 4 and it's 4 now. So Linda, how are you? I'm good. There's been a lot going on at the house. I don't know if you've noticed, but this wall is now my background. So I moved my desk from that corner to this corner, so now this is more of my background. So that's exciting, but that's why I haven't been doing studio vlogs, because we've been moving everything around and it's been busy. So hello from Australia. Hello. You've been painting for about a year as a hobby. Awesome. Well, welcome to class. Hi from Florida, from Canada. Hello. Just started 2 months ago. Okay. Wendy, did you start because of quarantine and you're just bored, or what? How did you come across painting? Love your background wall. It's beautiful. Thank you. Yeah, but that was a project I did about probably like a month and a half ago. Wait. No, I did it before. Did I do it before? I did it before Christmas, I think. I don't remember. It was a little bit ago. It's already February. It's already mid-February. How did that happen? Just joined from Ohio. Hello. Been painting for years, but love to take extra classes. Awesome. Well, welcome. And hello, Judy. All right. We are just about ready to get started. So I'm going to go ahead and go over the supplies. Let me just read. Mostly because of COVID lockdown. Yeah. All right. Sounds good. Well, thank you for everyone who's joining. I think we're going to go ahead and get started and go over supplies. So if you haven't gotten your supplies out, go ahead and get them out. I will go over all of the supplies now. Betty's asking if this is your third painting, will it be too challenging? No, this should be a fairly easy painting. If you have a liner brush, I would highly suggest getting out your liner brush for all of the thin lines. If you don't, I will have a couple tricks on how to get thin lines. But other than that, it's pretty self-explanatory. It's pretty easy. I love like sunset silhouette type of stuff, which is kind of what this is based off of. Technically it's not a sunset, or maybe it is a sunset, but there's the moon there. I think they're gorgeous and I love it. So this is what we're going to be painting tonight. The brushes that we're going to be using, we may use a couple other brushes. We might use a fan brush for the trees, but honestly it's up to you. If I will tell you kind of what I'm using, what I think we'll use for the class is kind of like what I used when I originally made this painting. But if we decide to use something else, I'll just let you know. So first off, we have my filbert brush. If you have a large filbert brush, that's what I'll be using. If you have the same kit, it's the number 15. That's the largest one. You can also use a large flat brush. I tend to like the filbert because It tends to leave less lines, so when you're going across the page, this tends to leave lines at each of the corners, whereas you're doing this, it tends to blend just a little bit easier, in my opinion. So you can use either though, whatever you have. And then I will also be using my my smaller filbert brush. I like filbert brushes. I feel like they're really versatile. You can get thick lines, thin lines, really whatever you need. We will probably be using a medium-sized round brush. This is a number 5 in the kit. Now, when I'm saying what number of brush it is, this pertains to this specific kit. It is not the brush industry, the art industry does not have like a standard for which brush sizes come in. It's like women's pants. Every store is different. You just have to try it on and figure it out. So just whatever. I have a large filbert, a medium to small filbert, and a medium to small round brush, okay? You will also need a smaller, like a very small round brush in the kit, in this kit, either your 2 or your 4, or if you would like, you can use your liner brush, okay? Liner brush is honestly really key for getting those thin lines in the tree and then also in the grass. But if you don't have a liner brush, that's totally fine. I will show you a couple tips using your small brush in order to get some of those thin lines. I will be using this flat palette. You don't have to use a flat palette. You could use something that you can throw away later or is easier to clean. That's totally fine. Glass of water, paper towel. I'm using an 11 by 14 canvas, a stretched canvas. You can use a panel. You can use a different size. That's totally fine. I would suggest doing a 8 by 10, 9 by 12, or an 11 by 14. Anything bigger, you're gonna have to paint faster than me to keep up, because you know you have a larger space to paint, so you have to go a little bit quicker. So I would recommend doing an 11 by 14 or smaller. So I wouldn't go bigger unless you're rewatching this and you can pause it and go from there, okay? Let's see. Everybody's saying hello, hello, hello. Okay, we'll keep moving. For the paints, I have my just standard black, titanium white. These are the colors I'm using. These are technically Master's Touch, which is, I believe it's Hobby Lobby brand, but honestly it's on the cheaper side of the paints. I don't have like super expensive professional grade, anything like that, because honestly not a lot of people buy that, and I want to be able to experience the same colors and the same consistencies that you're all painting with. And if most people buy the student grade, I'm going to be using the student grade so I can experience that with you and give you better tips on how to paint, okay? So I'm using that white, black, and then for the colors I'm using yellow medium, so it's kind of a brighter yellow. I'm using phthalo blue, okay? You can use ultramarine blue, but it's going to look a little bit different. The blue's going to look a little bit different. And then if you have a fuzzy screen, make sure that you toggle the quality. So sometimes it goes to auto and it's like 144 or whatever. Make sure it's on the highest quality on your YouTube video. That should help. And then for the last color, I have pink. This is magenta. You can use other pinks. I would suggest doing lighter pink because we do want a very soft background. Okay, you have to go. That's okay. You can always come back and paint. Yes. Painting is starting in just a few minutes. We're just going over supplies real quick. Okay, so those are all the paints. Just black, white, and those 3 colors. If you don't have pink and you just have red, you can use your red. I would just I would add some white to your red and not use a whole lot of red, so that it's a little bit softer, okay? Super new, just subscribed. Thank you. Yeah, if you haven't subscribed yet and you're watching, I think only like 20% of people who paint with me are actually subscribed to my channel. It does really help me, and then you'll get all of your you'll get all of the notifications whenever I upload a new video, a speed painting, a vlog, anything like that, as well as when I do go live for these classes. So if you haven't subscribed, make sure to do that. You can like this video, that helps with engagement and everything. My pink, yes, I can show my pink again. This is my pink. My pink. It's a pretty light pink. It's called magenta. I always thought magenta was darker, but I have, let's see, I have a color named Rogue. I think it's Rogue. Oops, that's green. Green is not Rogue. This color, it's a pretty kind of purpley color. This is for just reference. This is a really pretty dark pink, but for this one, I wanted to blend with that yellow really well. So I'm using the lighter pink. If you have this, you could just, if you only have a darker pink, you could just add some white to it, and then use that. Yeah. All right, so I have my colors. Let's go ahead. I think that's it. For anyone who's just joining, they probably didn't get the announcements of I have a Facebook where I post all my events that are coming up. Subscribe to my YouTube, like my Facebook. I have an Instagram. I post stuff on there. I post polls in my not my Instagram. I post polls in my artist community, and that's also where you can share your work after you're done. So which is below me. You can join my artist community and share your work. And then lastly, for our next class, let me just share this right before we get started. Our next class is going to be this. It's going to be a palette knife class, and it's a little ballerina. You can change the colors if you want to, but that's what we're going to be doing in a few weeks. So definitely click that video on my channel, and you can set a reminder for that. But yeah, I think that is it. Other than, did I mention, I think I mentioned this in the beginning chat, but for the stars, I will be using a old toothbrush. Is that it? Can we get started? Are you guys ready? Okay. So we're going to be starting with the background now. If you have a canvas that is a stretch canvas, it means you have the top, the bottom, and the sides to do. If you don't want to paint those and you don't want to worry about them, or you have kids that will probably forget about them anyways, you can actually just tape it off and either paint it black later, or you don't even have to, you don't have to worry about it. You can keep it white or whatever. You can go over the edge so there's a little white border. You can do whatever you want, but sometimes that's helpful. So if you have tape and you want to do that now. Other than that, let me go ahead and get my paint on my palette. So for the first colors, we're going to be, we're actually going to put a little bit of everything on our palette right now because the background uses all the colors. Thank you for subscribing. So we'll just have a little bit of pink, and I will show you my palette after I put all this on here. A little bit of yellow. Just a little bit. For the background, there's really not that much color for the blue and the pink. Or sorry, for the yellow and the pink. And the white. So I'm just putting a little bit of everything on my canvas, my palette right now. And then a little bit of black, because there is a little bit of black in that corner. Yeah, make sure not to brush your teeth with it, LOL. Yeah, definitely not gonna do that. Well, it's my son's old toothbrush, so he doesn't see it anymore because he's not allowed near my stuff, so it's kind of out of sight, out of mind. And I always clean them. You always have to clean it right after so it doesn't get super dirty. Okay. All right, so for this background, we are going to be blending. When we are blending, we want to make sure with acrylics, because it does dry fairly fast, you want to make sure that you're moving quickly. Obviously, you don't have to like speed through it all, and you can blend fairly easy, but you want to just make sure that you're not putting a color on there and then letting it dry, because if you let it dry before you move on to the next color, it's not going to blend very well. Okay, so the key to blending in acrylics is to do it while it's wet. Okay, there are other ways, but for right now, this is the way we're going to be doing this one. Okay, so first things first, we're going to grab our smallest brush, and we're going to just sketch out just a little bit of where everything's going to be. Okay, so I'm going to grab my smallest brush, dip it in a little bit of water, and just grab the tiniest bit of yellow. You can mix a little bit of white in there. I'm going to be adding just the tiniest bit of pink, so that's a little bit more orangey, so that you can see what I'm doing. If you can see the bright yellow, then you don't need to do this. I'm only doing this so that you guys can see it a little bit better on screen and on camera. Yes, my palette. I did say that I would show my palette. This is my palette. So I have my white, a little bit of yellow, a little bit of pink, blue, my phthalo blue, and my black. I will probably use more black than this. I will use more black than this. But just to start, I just have a little dollop there, just for the top. So that's what that looks like. So right here, I have just, it's pretty watery. So I just mixed a little bit of yellow and white, and then I added a tiny bit of pink so that you can see it better. We're just going to sketch out a little bit of what we're doing, okay? So for the horizon, you're going to go, so this is the middle. You'll notice it's a little bit below, because we want enough room for us to see all of this really beautiful sky. I kind of think of this sky in 3 sections. You have the stars, the clouds, and then the moon. Okay, and then you have this bright strip of yellow, so maybe 4 sections. And the reason this bright looks so good is because it's right up against the black. There's a large contrast versus the top of the tree. The tree gets lost in the black because it's really dark up there, which I kind of like. If you didn't want to lose the tree, you don't have to use black up there. You can just use the blue, and then you'll be able to see more of the black tree. But I kind of like it. Just it puts the focus down here versus the focus on the top of the tree, because that's not the focus. The focus is the water, the moon, and the unicorn, or a wolf, or a horse, whatever you choose. So this is about maybe like the first third, I would say. Okay, so I'm just going to do a pretty light, it doesn't have to be perfect. This is generally where it is. Okay, maybe I'll go a little bit higher, a tad bit higher, I don't know. Again, this paint is really, really thin, and I want it thin so that I can go over it really well, go over it easy. Okay, so my line, it's messy, it's okay. This is not the final project. I want to stress that a lot of paintings have to go through an ugly stage before it gets pretty. I don't think this really has any ugly stages in it, but sometimes you have to go through an ugly stage before it gets to a pretty stage. If this painting has an ugly stage, this is the stage. So just figure out where your horizon's going to go. I think I like that top line. And then we're going to build out a little bit of our tree, just like the basic of it. I'm going to come down on the side. The top of this, it's kind of bumpy. I'm just generally putting this in. Can you guys see what I'm doing? Okay, I think you can. And then this is kind of come back up here. Okay, I'm just generally putting this in. We are going to cover most of this with our color, but it's helpful to know where we're going so that we're not just painting on a big blank canvas. Okay, this is a step that really helps if you're kind of, I don't know if you've ever had that, you know, where you sit down to paint something and you're just staring at a blank canvas. You're like, where do we start? And it's like sometimes it's really disheartening and you get discouraged and you're like, I don't know where to start. Sometimes just drawing it out, or maybe draw it on a piece of paper, it's really helpful. Okay, and then you can like get your mind, wrap it around what you want to paint. So that's that. Okay, I'm gonna go ahead and rinse out my brush. This is pretty much all we're gonna do right now. Okay, so now we have a general outline of where things are gonna go. Okay, so I'm gonna grab my filbert brush. We're gonna put the main colors in as we go and blend as we go. Okay, so once I get to like the purplish area, the blue, I'm not gonna come back down to this. So we're gonna finish this yellowish part, blend it into the pink. Once we're done blending that, we're going to move into the purplish area. Once we're done with that, we're going to keep going. So I'll go slow as I can without disrupting the technique. So go ahead and dip your filbert brush or whatever large brush you're using for the background. You're going to grab a little bit of white and yellow. So again, that's a little bit of white and a little bit of yellow. Something I really enjoy about having a flat canvas is I can just mix two colors in the middle of that color. And then when I move over here, I can mix these two colors, and then I can mix these two colors, and I don't have to like pre-mix any colors. I can kind of just mix as I go, and that's actually really, it's been really helpful having a flat palette to do that. So then we're going to just start here and go all the way across. Make sure you get on the side, and we're gonna go up further than we need to go, because once we put on that pink, it's going to, we're gonna start blending down. So we wanna have enough yellow to blend into that we don't get rid of all of our yellow. Does that make sense? So I'm just gonna pull this up this far, and I don't have to worry about going over the side on the right because that's going to be black. Just make sure that you go over this initial line that we created for the tree. And again, if any of you have any class related questions, definitely let me know and I can help you. So I'm going to go up about a few inches. Maybe I'll add a little bit more white to this section down here. Okay. What color should the canvas be to start with? I would say white, only because it's easier to put light colors on a light canvas than it is on a dark canvas. But if you have a black canvas, I'm sure that wouldn't be too hard. You might have to double coat it. So you might have to do one coat of the background and then do a second coat of the background to really get through to that darkness, but that's up to you. Okay, so now what I'm going to do is going to take some of this yellow and a little bit of the pink and get a little bit of this orangey color, okay, and I'm just going to put it on top of this, just a little bit, just enough, and it's going to naturally blend in with that yellow. I'm going to do a little bit more right here. And if it's not blending as easy, just grab the tiniest bit of water to help it blend in with the paint that's already on your canvas. And if it's still not blending, you can go back into your white and yellow to help it blend. And you can blend it up instead of back. I'm going to go over this yellow a little bit, blend it up. I can add a little bit more pink. What if you have a small canvas? That should be fine. You'll just kind of adjust your sizing if needed. If you have a small canvas, what size canvas is it? If it's flat, then I would just take a tad bit off the bottom as well as off the top and keep everything else the same proportions. Alright, so now that you have this, you're going to take your pink. I'm going to take my pink and just put it on here. Again, it's a pretty light pink. I'm going to spread it around, kind of do this X motion. Sometimes this helps blend it. And then after I do that, I can go across the whole thing and get some really clean strokes. Just like that. So at this point, I've gone into the pink and I'm not going to go back into this yellow. I don't want to. You shouldn't have to. Now we're going to move on to the blue. So I'm going to take some of my pink, a tiny bit of blue. I'm going to kind of mix it, more pink than blue. I'm kind of going to mix it. And now I have this like pretty purpley. I'm going to put that just at the top of this and mix that in. Remembering to go off the edge. And I need a tad bit more pink. So I'm going to go grab my pink. Go back into my pink right here. And I can just blend where the pink meets the blue. Just doing that. And then I can go all the way across to help it blend. Making sure not to go down too far. Make sure not to go down too far. Okay, you don't want to go past this pink because it's really hard. It's really hard to, blend it back in. If you do feel like you went too far, so I kind of have this line right here, I'm going to rinse out my brush. Rinse out my brush all the way, dab it off so it's not soaking wet. And I can go back in just the tiniest bit with a little bit of that orange color. And try to just help it blend a little bit. It is the background though, so try not to beat yourself up if it's not blended perfectly, especially if this is your first time, really blending. So I'm just adding pink to this to try to kind of lighten it up because the blue kind of took over just a little bit. Okay, I like that. Somebody asked a question. Hi Samantha, it will be easy if you attach a link to tip you. Just a touch screen. Thanks for the carbon. Oh, I don't know. So I have 3 different ways to tip, and because of that I don't have like a link. Actually, technically I do have a link. Let's see. Here, let me look it up real quick. So this used to be my old tip link before when I was doing when I would do live streams on Twitch, but that didn't really work out, but it still works because I'm still using the same program to stream. See if I can find it. Yes, okay, so I do have, here, let me just pop this in here. Yeah, I'm not doing it on Twitch because my audience is my audience is older people, for the most part, and techie stuff tends to not be their forte, and that's in no way a shame or anything. It's just kind of the reality, and more people know YouTube and can do YouTube, and also I have a lot more audience on YouTube, so it just ended up being the better option. I might do stuff in the future on Twitch, so I still have it, but it's not my main source of my stream. Okay, so that is the tip link. If you want a link, you can tip through there. Otherwise, there's no harm in doing it Venmo or PayPal or any other way. It all comes to me through the same part. Okay, so once you get up here, hopefully everybody's tracking with me. You can just put on your blue. Yeah, I definitely have younger people with me. I tend to think that I have like the older, like not older, but like mom and grandma generation who loves painting, and it's like their pastime, which is amazing, and that's probably what I will do in the future. And then their kids, which are quite younger. So Twitch tends to be, in my experience, for the like college age, and like 20s, and I don't see a lot of that age painting with me, at least from what I can tell. Not to say that you aren't here and that you don't paint with me, but the majority of people. But yeah, so it's just one of those things where I kind of had to pick. I had to pick one or the other, and this one just ended up working better. Oh, I do have a Venmo link. I didn't know that. Although I think there's a space in between Samantha Anderson and artist, which shouldn't be there. What did I miss? I don't know. I don't know when you left. Alright, so once you get up to here, you can start adding your black. I'm going to add the black just to the corner. So I'm going to add black to the corner. And after I'm done with this, I will wait for everyone to kind of finish the sky before you move on. With the exception of the clouds, because I did do that when it was wet. So I'm going to add this dark to get a good contrast. Again, if you want your tree to be more prominent and you don't want it to get lost in the black, you don't have to add the black. So now I've started to add some blue back in there. I need more blue. If you're ever having trouble blending, try adding just a little bit of water, and that might help that blend together. Okay, so we've noticed that I have a little bit more blue off to the left than I do the right, and that's just preference. I kind of wanted that, slant to take shape with the clouds. Okay, so while this blue-black color is still wet, what you're going to do is you're going to take your kind of round, one of your round brushes, take a little bit of white, and you're just going to start from one end, and you're going to start moving that up. Okay? I'm using mostly the side of my brush, not necessarily the front of it, and I'm kind of going back and forth. I'm letting it blend into the blue, okay? So this is why it's kind of important to do this while it's wet, because it adds so much to it. It's going to kind of add a little bit down here. And it's easier to kind of make it like kind of whimsical. Maybe we'll have some come up here. And we can add other colors in here a little bit later once this is a little bit dry. You know, it might be reflecting some of this pink color. But the trick with like wispy clouds is to not have just a bright white, okay? Okay, it's all kind of blending in, that's fine. I'm allowing my brush to be, I don't know if you can see this, I'm allowing my brush to be a little bit, like not perfectly round. I'm allowing it to kind of stipple a little bit. It gives a little bit more texture. Again, I didn't add any blue to this. I only added white. It's a little bit blue and kind of that, you know, bluish hint of blue because my background was black, or my background was wet, okay? So I'm only adding this white color. And then now kind of the color that I'm grabbing, I'm still grabbing from the same spot, but because I had blue on my brush, it's kind of got that blue tint to it, but that's what I want. I want it to be whimsical and kind of that there it is, blue color. Whew, excuse me. And now it's kind of become a dry brush technique. I think I'm going to add a little bit more over here. Just a little bit. What art school did I go to? I'm gonna be honest and show all my cards right now. I did not go to an art school. I am mostly self-taught. The only art classes I actually had were in ceramics. I was actually a theater major. So I was a theater major with a minor in ceramics. I've been doing art all my life, pretty much. And I took a drawing class once. But it's honestly, I do it, a lot of it honestly is God-given talent. I don't know who else to give the credit to. because it's a very, I'm not trying to toot my horn at all. It's just a natural, it's very natural to me. I don't know. It's a very natural thing for me, and I love that I get to do it and share art with people and teach you, and that's part of why I love doing this. But yeah, I mean, I definitely have gotten much better. So when I first taught in Michael's, a little history lesson for me, in my background, while this dries. So I'm done with this, just to let you know, I'm done with this. I'm gonna let this dry a little bit. Actually, I'll give you a little bit of background on my, once we're done. So hopefully you get to a point, while you're still kind of working on this, I do want to get the stars on there, so that if you get stars on this part, you can kind of wiggle them out into the clouds. So let me do that, and then I'll kind of give you a little bit of history of kind of how I got to teaching art, especially since I did not go to art school. So if you have a big brush, or use whatever you're using for your stars, you can use a large, just old brush. You can use a fan brush, whatever you use. Make sure that the consistency of your paint is a little bit more on the liquidy side. I wouldn't say watery. Don't get it watery, because then you're gonna have drips of paint. Okay, you're just gonna get a little bit of water. And I'm just going to so you can't even really see it. Can you see that? Yeah. So I kind of have more of a galactic thing. So then I'm going to take that brush that I was just using, and I'm going to go over my clouds with like the tiniest bit of water, so that it puts all of those stars that I just created. It makes it so they're not in front of the thing. And then you can also go in with some more specific stars. Which, here's a little tip. If you didn't know, you can use the back of your small brush. This is a tip I love giving. Use your handle to get some paint and dab on all those stars that you want to add. Just try not to add them on your, don't add them on your, your clouds. Okay, that's pretty. I'm happy with that. The key with stars is don't make them all perfectly the same size, all perfectly, you know, separate from each other. Stars are going to come in different sizes, different brightness, and some of them are going to be in clusters and close to each other. Okay, so yeah, I think I want more splatter. It's a galactic, it's a galaxy right there. See that? It's a galaxy. You were asking what size brush are we using for which part? What I just did for the stars, I just used the smallest brush that I had. I just used my small round, and I just used the back end of it. And then if you do use the like a toothbrush or whatever, make sure that you rinse it out immediately so that it doesn't dry on there. Although if you wanted it to be more stiff, let it dry on there, and then that'll actually help its stiffness. Alright, I'm done with my that. So while everybody's doing that, a little bit of background on me is that my husband and I, pre-COVID, used to, probably about 5 years ago, we used to teach dance. And we probably did up until maybe a year before COVID, when I started having kids and I would get motion sickness and things like that. And so I was used to teaching dance. I was used to teaching that way. And then when I moved to San Diego and we got married, I knew that I was just not going to be a good sit-down person in an office sort of person. I was like, I don't want to do that. I want to be creative. I want to do something creative. So I looked up painting jobs, and face painting came up at the zoo. So for anyone who cares, I actually started my business technically at the zoo, the San Diego Zoo, face painting. Obviously I didn't have a business when I started doing that, but it inspired me to create a business. I think I forgot to paint. I always do this. I forgot. So I learned how to face paint, and I learned how to do henna and glitter tattoos at the San Diego Zoo. And I just fell in love with it. I fell in love with just bringing the joy that it brings to kids' faces, and like literally their faces, but them and their parents, and I just love the whole aspect of it. And then after, that was just a summer job, and after I was done with that summer job, they were like, okay, bye, see you next year. And I was like, but I want to continue doing this. So I ended up starting my own business as a face painter, a henna artist, and a balloon, or not a balloon twister, as a glitter tattoo artist. And then eventually, through the glorious YouTube, learned how to do balloon twisting, and eventually other stuff too. But I did that, and it was after I started my own business that I was like, I really liked teaching dance, and I was like, well, maybe I could teach painting, because I've always had a knack for painting, but I had never like taught it or anything like that. So I only need to go down like that far with the sky, because the rest of it's going to be black. So I always had a kind of a knack for teaching. Hold on, something about a chicken. What's going on? You made the clouds look so effortless. Mine looked like a chicken feet tornado clouds. Oh goodness. If your background, why do people paint the outside of canvas? So you can hang it on your wall, and it looks nice. It looks complete. If I'm gonna hang it on the wall, I'll paint the outside. If I know I'm not gonna hang it on the wall and I'm gonna put it in like a frame, then I won't worry about doing that. Okay, they're asking how to do clouds. Okay, so what I did the clouds, while the background was still wet, while this blue-black was still wet, I added white. With my round brush, I added white, and I just kind of wiggled my brush and kept moving up, like kind of against the grain, and I kind of like tapped it, and I went up and kind of wiggled it. Have I ever done portraits? I have done a few portraits for like commission work. I would not say that I'm skilled in it. In terms of teaching, I feel like I would want to have a little bit more practice under my belt before teaching portraits. I can definitely teach how to do like skin colors and things like that, but yeah, not like specifically portraits. Just because I haven't really done them that often. I think the main thing of what I do is like landscapes and flowers and animals. I love doing animals. I just don't want to bore people with animals. Like, I don't know if you can see, I have an owl, a bird, a fish, Olaf, he's an animal, right? He's a character. I have hummingbirds, I have a turtle, I have a horse, I have a wolf over there, butterfly. I also did this for my patrons. I did this for my patrons the other day. I did another hummingbird because I love hummingbirds. So if you want to become a patron, I painted this last Friday, so that's available. And then for anyone wondering, after our we're doing this that's one of our free classes. Yeah, I don't even know what I was talking about. Oh, I do a lot of animals, but I don't want to bore people with animals because. And then I have a there's a penguin right there that I did for my patrons, and then behind that is a dog that I also did for my patrons. Have I ever painted famous people? I have not painted, no, I've never painted famous people. I've drawn famous people, not to like sell or give to them or anything like that, just when I was practicing, when I was in college, high school. Mike is asking, should I sketch my paintings in pencil? So I have a couple tips in my Patreon for this, but I would say to sketch it on a piece of paper first. Like if you're creating something from your mind. So what I did for this, I don't have it anymore because it was just a sketch and I threw it away. But for this, the first thing that I did is on a piece of paper, I sketched out my idea. So I knew I wanted a moon. I knew I wanted like a sunset kind of silhouette background. I wanted a tree. So I put it in there, and it doesn't happen every time, but this time around I liked what it looked like the first time I sketched it. So that was fine, and I'm going with that. But sometimes I will sketch it out and I'll be like, I don't like the placement. I think I moved the moon 3 times on this one. Like I moved it around to try to figure out where I wanted to put it. So that's definitely helpful in the process of creating a painting. And again, I have a lot of tips on my Patreon for this sort of stuff. But if you're creating a painting, I would definitely suggest to sketch it out on like a piece of paper first, so you can kind of get the idea down on out of your head before you start painting, and then you can transfer it over with a pencil. But I would also, if you're done with this, please let me know so we can move on. I'm kind of just talking as people. I know that people are working on the clouds, not everybody's done. So give me a thumbs up if you are ready to move on. But yeah, I tend to not use pencils. As you can see, I did paint. I did paint to sketch it out because it's a lot easier to paint over. If you're using a graphite pencil, sometimes that can mix into your paint and change the color of your paint, especially when you're using light colors. So I tend to not use pencils. Okay, I'm seeing some done. Okay, perfect. So you're done with the stars. So now that this is dry, hopefully it's dry for most of you, you can take a little bit of this pink, or the pink, the yellow, kind of whatever color you want to do, and you can add just a little bit of this pink on here. Mine's a little bit translucent, so just so it's like I think I'm going to add a little bit of white to it, just so it's a tiny bit lighter. And if you ran out of any of your colors, go ahead and grab a little bit more, because we're going to do pretty much the same thing down here, okay? So I'm just grabbing some more paint because I ran out, but then my thing wouldn't close. I got paint all over my hands. Okay. Yeah, so now's the point where you can add a little bit of your pink or your orange, kind of whatever color you want this to reflect. You can do a little bit of both if you want. What is my favorite painting that I've done? Oh my goodness. It's a really hard one. I don't think I've ever been asked that before. So, so when I did this, I had to pick, like, I had more favorites than this. I had more favorites than this, and I had to pick and choose to put them on there. Let me tell you, it was so hard. So I don't know. I don't know if I could just pick one. I like different ones for different reasons. Alright, so for this, I'm kind of doing the same technique. I'm kind of just gently brushing it on there. And I'm using a pink and a little bit of an orangey color. And I'm only putting it on like the left underside. Okay? So try to figure out where like the underside of your clouds are and only put it there. Okay? And that will help actually define your clouds a little bit and give it a little bit more depth. Okay? So just put it all over. But try not to cover up all your blue because you do want that bluish white to pull through too. Okay? So that just adds a little bit of color to your clouds. So as for favorite painting, I have a really big soft spot for the owl up there. Not specifically that owl. It's actually this owl. Let's see. So I have a soft spot for this owl because it was the first painting that I taught that was my work. So for anyone who used to teach with, do classes with me before, I would just take whatever painting was online. Now this was before I started teaching on YouTube. This was before I had like maybe 3 or 4 people painting with me. It was just after COVID hit, and I just wanted to paint with people, and I was doing it online, and there was like a few people, and most of them were the people who I had already been teaching at the brew coffee spot. And so I would just take whatever painting, you know, from Pinterest or Google or whatever. But then in October, I had to make a switch because I was getting a lot more recognition, and I knew at that point, I was like, I can't teach other people's work anymore. And at that point, I was just like, I felt really guilty and really bad that I was teaching other people's work, and I was like, I wouldn't want somebody else to teach my work. I'd want them, you know, to learn from me. So it was at that point that I made the switch, and I was like, I can't teach other people's work. Like, that's not ethical. And that was at that point that I like realized what I was doing, and I was like, that's not okay. So then I started teaching my own work and creating my own work. And I don't know why I felt like I was like afraid of teaching my own work. Like maybe people wouldn't like it or anything like that. Obviously that's not true because you're all here right now. But the owl, so that was the one that I painted in class with everyone, and this was the one that like I painted for everyone. So I always say that this is the mama bird and that's the baby bird. You can't really see it, but it kind of looks like a baby bird. It's a lot more fluffy. But I have a soft spot because, I don't know, because that was my first one that like I created. So I don't know. I think that's probably my favorite. But yeah. Yeah, I'll probably rotate them. Cause like this is probably gonna be one of those favorites, and I wanna put it on the wall. But okay, so now that everyone's done it, sorry, I've been talking a lot. I'm sorry. People are asking really good questions that are making me want to answer them. Okay, so we're gonna go ahead and move on. We're gonna do the same thing. You guys know the process. Do it fairly quickly. We're gonna add in a little bit of those of the whatever you did for this for the clouds. You'll do just at the very edge here. Same process, okay? So we're going to take our big brush, whatever brush you used before, same brush. I'm going to take a little bit of white, a little bit of yellow. I'm going to add that to the bottom here. Don't worry if you can still see this line that's here, because that's going to be covered up by black, so don't worry about that. And you're just going to do the same process. What I'm going to do, my water is milky gray and it's actually changing the color of this. So I'm going to go get new water real fast. Give me 1 second. Alright, sorry about that. Maybe next time we'll just get 2 waters. I haven't really had that happen in the past, where like it actually changes the water. It was just so dense with that milky gray blue color that it was changing it. So I'm just going over this to kind of rehydrate it so that I can make this blend a little bit better. So again, I'm just going to go back into the pink, blend it in, go all the way across so I have smooth lines. I'm going to start going into that blue. I'm going to put the blue down on the bottom first, get it in there, and then I can go back in with my pink and blend it just a little bit. Add just the tiniest bit of black at the bottom, maybe. I think I need more pink. That's the thing. I need more pink. How many paintings? Like, how many paintings have I done? Like, ever? Oh, I don't know. A lot. Because I taught. I probably did like 24 at Michael's, and then I've taught every other Monday at the Brew Coffee Spot for like 3 years. And then now I teach once a week, every other week being 4 live classes, and then every other week alternating being on Patreon. And that's not even including the classes or the prep classes that I do for this. So like, would this count as 2 paintings because I prep paint and then I paint with you? I don't know. So I've done a lot of paintings. We'll keep it at that. Phone messed up. I don't know what I missed. Last scene ended on stars. Ended on stars. So you already did the clouds. We added a little bit of color to the clouds, just a little bit of pink and a little bit of orange. And then we just did the same thing of the top here to the bottom here. So it's the same process, you're just going down instead of up. And then again, while this is still wet, I'm going to take some of this white, and I'm just going to copy what I did, except I'm going to go down. And you're going to kind of try to like mimic at least a little bit. This time around I'm not picking up as much blue, so I'm just going to go in with a little bit of blue. Again, I'm just kind of trying to mimic what I did up here to an extent. It doesn't have to be the same. It's gonna get covered up with grass and stuff. Okay. Alright, once you're done with that, go ahead and let me know so that we can move on. Okay? Let's see. So my blue paint went all the way to the bottom because I have a small canvas. Your blue paint here? That's okay. We'll be covering up most of this with black. We just want to go down further than we think we'll need to go so that we can cover it up with black and make clean lines. Because you kind of got to cover up all the white before you can create the, you know, the bumps and stuff in the grassy area, the not water. Sorry, my brain, I don't know what I'm thinking. Land. In the land. Okay, I'm seeing ready, done, ready. Okay. Okay, so we're gonna move on and do our moon. Yeah, let's do our moon. There's a couple ways to do the moon. I find it easiest to get a filbert. Get a little bit of, we're gonna do our little bit of our pinkish orange color to start with. We're gonna put a bunch of other colors on it, but it's just to start with a color. Get a little bit of water so it goes on your canvas easily. And what you're gonna do is figure out, so here's my line, my initial line. This is where I'm going to be putting it, like right here. So wherever that is, I'm going to take this and I'm going to do a little circle. Now I'm starting small because you can always make it bigger. You can't really go back. And I can see that that is too small. So I'm going to make it a little bit bigger, and I'm just taking this and twirling my brush. And you can get a pretty round circle by doing that. If you're really, really great at, you know, doing circles, be my guest. You can totally do it however you want. Okay, so we're starting off with the pink moon because we're gonna come back and add some colors to it. So then you're just gonna do the same exact thing down below. Start here. come down just a little bit. Alright, Linda says, so I got really behind, went back, and will continue tonight until I finish. Yeah, that's totally fine, Linda. Take your time. The owl is my favorite. Yeah. I know, you did it twice, and it got so much better. You're welcome. Alright, so now I have your two. They don't have to be exactly the same right now. We're going to kind of work on them. So I'm going to add just a little bit of this orangey color, which is just my yellow and my pink. I'm going to add it a little bit over here. And when we're doing this moon, whatever you add to the top, sorry, I just bumped my computer. Whatever you add to the top, you add to the bottom. As a mirror. So if you do something on the bottom right, you're going to do it on the top right. So just like a mirror, okay? So I added a little bit of orange, kind of blended it in because that pink was a little bit still wet. And honestly, you don't have to do exactly what I do here. Maybe I'm going to add a little bit of blue. I don't know. I'm going to... What happened here? A brush. It's wigging out. I started my YouTube the same time that I started my Patreon, and the same time that I started my oops, see, I did that wrong. The same time that I started my Patreon. Did I just say that twice? So I did, it was around October 1st was when I started my Patreon, I started my YouTube, and I started teaching my own content. So all of the classes on YouTube are my content. I didn't upload any of my own, I didn't upload any of anything that I taught from somebody else. Those are currently still on my Facebook, but I'm in the process of taking them down because it wasn't my work to teach. So if you see people doing something that's not on my YouTube, it's probably from an old class. All right. So now I'm just adding little bits of kind of everything. Again, when you do something to one, you want to do it to the other. And you can make your moon really however you want. I'm going to add a little bit more of a, let's see. I'm There we go. I kind of like this hint of yellow that I originally did on the right side, so I'm gonna go ahead and add just a little bit of that to this side right here. I don't know, I just kind of like it. I think I also had more purple in my moon before, so I might play around with your moon, figure out what you like. I do like the kind of, it has a crescent look to it because I'm highlighting just like one side of it, so I will say that that's probably my favorite part of this moon. Hello everyone who's just joining. We're just having fun. Painting away. Alright. So I think that's probably good for my moon. Okay. So now that we're done with that, we're gonna go ahead and put in just a ton of black. So with my biggest brush, make sure all of your brushes are rinsed out as well as not sitting in the water. So quick tip for that, your brush has glue inside the ferrule that keeps all the bristles together. So if you leave them in the water, not only do the bristles get bent sitting in that cup or whatever you have it in, but the water eventually seeps up into the ferrule and it'll loosen the glue and you'll have bristles coming out, and it's not good for your brushes. So try to not keep them in the water. Just rinse them out, kind of dab them off, and you'll be good, okay? Yes, so for this part, we're going to go ahead and grab whatever big brush you have. We're going to fill out most of this with that big brush. You can grab just a little bit of water with your black so that it moves smoothly on your canvas. If you're using craft paint, then you might not need to add water to it because it's kind of already, the viscosity of your paint is kind of already that, it's kind of already liquid, so you might not need to do that. So I'm just painting the bottom of this real quick. I don't know if you want to see it. Okay. If you put too much water in it, it's going to become translucent, and then we definitely don't want that. My pink and blue did not blend together to make purple. Next time I test the shades before class. Sometimes it's helpful to blend them on the palette before putting them on the canvas. That sometimes helps, for sure. I think I did that more in my first attempt than I did here. I also had more yellow, so there was less room on my canvas to have that blend. I have more yellow than I do pink, and then the first one I had more pink. So it's, you know, even me as an artist, I'm not going to paint the same thing exactly twice. So even me, I created this and it's not turning out exactly right, or it's not turning out exactly the same. That's okay. Maybe your sky is just less blended, and that's okay. Okay, so what I'm going to do right here, just so I don't forget later, is I'm just going to paint this whole side of my canvas black, because that's where the tree is, so it's going to be black anyways. I'm just going to do it now while I'm, while I'm here, so I don't forget later. Because I don't know about you, but I tend to forget to paint the sides. Or I'll like remember when I'm like not painting near it, and I have to like remix colors. Hello everyone. I think people are just joining the stream, but they're like behind maybe, I don't know. Or you're just joining. Hello. Hello if you're just here. Okay, so once you get like the basics of this down, you're gonna just make sure that all of your white is covered. So I have little speckles of white right here, speckles of white right here. So I'm just gonna cover all of that up because I wanna make sure that all of that is covered up. Oops. And then I can shape my plants and my rocks in the ground. I'm putting in my tree real fast. That's where my tree's gonna be. It's gonna be taller, but I'll be able to add that a little bit later. So first I'm going to just make sure that all of my little pieces of white are covered. And this isn't really how it's gonna look. I just want to make sure that, this is all covered. And yours might look different at this point. I do want this to kind of come down. So now I'm gonna kind of shape it. Now that I have all of that white covered, I get to shape my ground because I didn't want that little nook coming out. I think that's fine. I'm gonna kind of bring this up a little bit, have more of this black in here. But again, this is up to you. You can create this shape however you want. Just keep in mind that I really do want kind of this moon part to be kind of under the horse a little bit. So just try to keep that in mind when you're creating this, because this is kind of where, this is where the horse or wolf or whatever you want to put here, that's where it's going to be, where it's kind of, its feet are going to be, okay? and then it's going to be drinking the water down here, okay? It is really pretty like it is now. Yeah, I think so too. We're going to put in some trees here. We'll really bring it to life. Okay, so now that we got that figured out, we are going to put in our trees, okay? We're going to put it in our background trees before we put in our big tree, so then we know how high we need our branches to be, okay? So the first thing you're going to do is put a line where your water is, okay? Or where the horizon is. And then you can just create I almost feel like this is like a this is a you know, one of those heart monitor things. Kind of feels like that. So whenever you make a line, just make it all the way so that it reflects correctly. Okay. Somebody had a question. Do you like Bob Ross? Random question. Yes, I love Bob Ross. Happy Trees, Mighty Mountains, all that. Yes, I love Bob Ross. I'm kind of sad that he like only did it in he mainly painted in oils, because I want to paint some of his things, but I'd have to like change how I do it. Okay, so what I'm doing, happy little accidents, exactly. Or like, oh, this thing is here. Oh, he needs a friend. Just gonna give him a friend here. Okay, so what I do is I just did lines, pretty much. This is like the easiest thing. You're gonna do lines, okay? It's gonna look, this is what I talked about earlier about having an ugly stage. This is gonna be an ugly stage. You're like, oh, what are you doing? You're messing it up. Trust me, we're gonna add details. But we kind of have to have a forest in order to create this, okay? So you have a line, you have some of your thicker trees, your taller trees, maybe you have a couple tall trees back to back, and then you're just going to brush in a lot of this. So just starting from the middle, I'm just adding this black. And little bits at a time, it's going to add thickness to your trees. Try not to have too much water mixed in, or else it's going to not work. It's kind of a dry technique. And then by slowly building this up, and we're going to add a little bit of detail to the top, to the tall ones, but you're just slowly adding detail and thickening up the forest. Okay. And normally when I teach water, I teach it as it's wet, and then we brush across a little bit. Because this water is so still, the reflections of the water is very clear. So that's why we can see the moon reflection really well. We can see the cloud reflection, which we still have to put the pink and yellow on it. We can see that reflection really well. Same with the trees. We're gonna be able to see those reflections really well, which is why we're not doing any of the brushing across. You want to make sure that this little like nook right here, about like ½ an inch, is black, and then everything else after that can kind of be a little less, it can be thinner. So I think I'm pretty much done with my bigger brush. Now I'm gonna go in with, I was gonna use the fan brush, and you can use the fan brush, but I don't really like my fan brush. So I'm gonna use a smaller flat brush. Okay, I trust the edges just a little bit more to not like fray and kind of be crazy. So I'm gonna use you can use a fan brush, but I'm gonna be using the small flat brush. Small flat brush. Okay, I'm gonna take the corner of this. I'm gonna start, if you want to start over here where the tree's gonna be, so that you can like try it before you do it on your thing, you can do that. But you're just gonna start, these are my Bob Ross trees, where you just go back and forth, with the exception of I kind of do a swinging effect. So instead of going straight across and doing a Z, I kind of do a swinging, because most branches, they don't go straight out, they kind of have a little bit of a lift to them. So I kind of do a swinging one, and you're gonna go all the way down. Okay, the one that I did before in the original, I did it really fast and I didn't spend a lot of time on the trees. They're just kind of like what, and they're kind of put in there. I spent more time on like the big tree and stuff. You can spend as much time as you want on these trees. I will say that if you are going to spend a lot of time on them, you'll probably have to come back to them, which is totally fine. This is something that you can come back to. So don't worry, if you want to come back to it, you can. These are the trees that are like closer to you, and they have a little bit more detail. But if you wanted to, you could literally do this on every little tree that you see. It's all dependent on how detailed you want to be. For now, I'm just going to be doing it on like the main trees that are a little bit bigger. Yes, all my classes are left up after. I don't take my classes down. The ones that are mine, the ones that are free, I do not take them down. So you are free to paint this later if you're just joining us now. So yeah, you're just going to do that all the way across. Again, you don't have to have this much detail on every single one of them. You just put it on a couple. And then you are going to do the same thing. You can, my trick would be for the reflection, you're going to turn it over and do it that way, which I will be doing after I'm done. You're welcome, Dorothy. I just got hungry and just remembered that we're having Woodstock pizza tonight. Makes me so happy. And now I'm thinking about pizza, and now I'm even more hungry. Ugh, what's wrong with me? Why did I think about that? Okay, I'm just gonna... I'm just gonna kind of fill in the gaps if you need them, if you need to. If you wanted to, you could even put like a bigger one right here. Here, I'll do one just so that you can get an idea of what it would look like, and then you can choose whether or not to do it yourself. Maybe this one's like a lot closer. I like to watch first and do my attempt after it. Yeah, that's totally fine. So here's a bigger one that kind of frames it. And then so what I'm going to do is I'm going to turn this over, and I'm just going to do the same thing. And just copy what I did here. And just create the reflection. One of these days I'll get music for you guys, so that we're not just like listening to me pat my canvas. Hopefully you guys are, you know, listening to music on your own. All right. Listening to my kids fight. Oh no, don't do that. Kids, stop fighting. This is supposed to be relaxing for for your mom. I'm assuming they're your kids. Okay, so I made a really tall one over here, right here, which means I have to mimic that over here for the... I'm using your fan. Yeah, your fan is good. Use whatever you're comfortable with. Like, you don't have to use what I'm using. If you have a brush that you like using for trees like this, go for it. turn it over, see how it is. I think that's pretty good. As you can tell, if you look at the two, the one that I originally did versus the one that I just did, you can tell that there was a lot more time put into the trees and they look a lot better. So just, you know, it does go to show that sometimes going slow and putting the time into a painting does make it look better. Okay, just kind of trying to make it look even. All right, so we have about 20 more minutes. We do need to still do the tree and the horse or unicorn. So we do have to move on. So we're gonna be using our small to medium round brush for all of the most of the branches, all the big branches, and then we'll switch over to our liner brush for the smaller branches. So go ahead and add just a little bit of water to your black so it flows fairly nicely. And I'm using a round brush so that I can get thin and thick lines. So what I'm doing here is first I'm going to fill out the rest of this. And I think this first one is gonna come here. All right, so now what I'm gonna do is with this brush, I'm going to do the major branches, okay? So I know I want one branch to come out here. And off of that, I'm gonna come up here. Now you do not have to do the same branches as I do, okay? Just make sure that the branches are bigger when they hit the tree than they are out. You can always come out here and make them thicker. Yeah, feel free to come back and finish it later. That's totally fine. Just make sure that if you want to share it with me, join the artist community group, and then you can share your paintings, okay? I love being able to see everybody who painted in the class. And my tip for doing trees is to have your branches kind of wiggly. So you'll notice that this branch here, it's not like a straight branch, you know? And maybe you don't like this part, and okay, well that's just gonna be another branch. Okay. You're just going to add all your big branches. You don't have to go as small as I did. I just know that I can go that small. You don't have to go that small. You can wait until you have your liner brush or a smaller brush. Let's see, I want to make this one bigger. You'll notice that I can see more of the top of my tree now because I put more stars there. So that is also a way to help make you be able to see. Okay, I think I have all of my major branches in there. Everything else is kind of, I can add with my smaller one. Okay. Can I make birds? Sure, you can make birds. That might look really cute. Maybe like on this little nook right here. But I would wait until after we're done to add those. So we're gonna go on. I'm going to, because you can kind of go crazy on the branches and everything, we're gonna do the unicorn first, so we can have enough time for that, and then the rest of it you can just spend as much time on it as you want. Okay, so I'm gonna do the unicorn first, and just to get the basic structure. So I know a lot of you aren't, some of you might not be familiar with drawing or anything like that. I want to give you the basic shapes of a horse. Now these aren't like technically proportioned or anything like that. I think the neck is technically a little bit longer, but this is kind of a horse. So I'm breaking it down into basic shapes. Right here we have 3 circles. We have the hip, the shoulder, and the face, like the head shape skull, and then you have a little box here for the muzzle, the nose area, you have the neck, and then everything kind of stems from there. So let me just give you a couple pointers for doing this out. When I first draw this out, I'm literally going to draw a stick figure. Stick figures are your friend, okay? So this, I'm going to be drawing this here. This is not. I'm going to be drawing here, okay? And I'm going to go down where I want this to go, okay? Once you get the basic, like, there, it's probably going to be closer to, like, it's going to be a little bit more tilted, like the head's going to be a little bit down further. But I'm going to go here, here, and then from there I can create these 2 circles and then a little box, okay, and then a head. And from there you can kind of just connect the dots, and I'll help you. But try to think of it in basic shapes and not like, I have to create a horse. I know it's gonna stress people out. That's why I wanted to show you this. We're literally gonna draw a stick figure, okay? Okay. That's the pointer. I'm making a moose. You can make a moose too. But that's kind of the basics of this, okay? I totally just got paint on my paper. That's okay. Just don't set it down on my lap. Okay. If you at all want to see that again, let me know. I'll probably show it periodically. Thank you, Bruce. Yeah, you can totally finish tomorrow. Don't forget to share your painting. Okay, so let's go ahead and start. I'm gonna grab just my I'm gonna grab my filbert brush because I'm used to using my filbert brush for a lot of things and I'm very comfortable with it. If you are not comfortable using your filbert brush, get a brush that you're comfortable with, preferably a smaller brush. I like using my filbert brush because I can make round curves with it without thinking too much about it. Mine's gonna look like a dog with a horn. Oh, have faith in yourself, okay, guys? Okay, so let's go ahead and start. I'm gonna get a little bit of black. Again, first thing I'm gonna do, figure out where you want your head. So I'm gonna put my head right here. So I'm just gonna put a little dot. I don't wanna put it too far down because this is a a a shadow. Oh, before we do this, I didn't do this last time and I made sure I would remind myself. We are going to, give me 1 second. We are actually going to put the waterline first so that we don't have to do that after we put the horse. Okay, so let's do the water lines first. Sorry, I just reminded myself of that. Okay, so get whatever white color. Ugh, my white is dry because I haven't been using it. Who's my favorite artist? Let's see. Artists I really like. I really like Bob Ross, but I feel like everybody liked that. I really like Kevin Hill, which I feel like is a modern Bob Ross. Maybe that's why I like him. Kevin Hill. He also does oil paintings, so I don't know if that counts. Acrylics. When I first started teaching, I was looking up a lot of let's see, what's her name? Oh, the Art Sherpa. I would watch a lot of her videos. And then recently I discovered Angela Anderson. It's a great last name. But I really like her style. It's more realism type of stuff, but I feel like if I add the horse, it will ruin my painting. You know what? Grab a thick piece of cardstock and try it out on a piece of paper that's not here. If you're scared of putting on the horse, try to paint it a couple times on something else that's not your painting. That's okay. You can practice it, without putting it on there, okay? We are going to put a little bit of this. I'm just using this because I can better get, water lines. So the first thing I'm going to do is I do want a water line over here. Oops. Can always cover that up. I feel like reflection is really easy to do for someone. Yeah, it's pretty easy. You're just kind of putting some white lines. Wait, the water reflection as in like what we already painted? Or like the white? This is kind of like the waves. It's honestly just to break up it's to break it up and really show that this is it's a reflection. It's my favorite color. Turquoise. Definitely turquoise. Okay. I have enough. I kind of made them sideways a little bit. Whoa! There's black there. Okay, so if anybody ever does this, get a clean brush. So what I did is I thought it was a clean brush and it was not a clean brush. You're going to get water, clean brush, wipe it off, get water, get a paper towel, do that, get a little bit more water, you do have to work kind of fast though, dab it up, get your water, dab it up. I need a little bit more water. Preferably if you have clean water, that's better. But, okay. Whew, that was close. So, there's a quick tip for you if you ever just, mess up and put a bunch of black on there. Okay, so So you have that. Now we're going to do the horse design, okay? So this is where I want the nose to be. Figure out where you want the kind of the middle of your, like the end. I'm going to draw a line there. Draw a line here. Chats that say you sent them, but you're painting, so what are you talking about? Sending what? Sending what? I don't know what you're talking about. So here's this, and this could be the top of this, or you know, I think I'm gonna make it kind of the top of. Now if this is closer to the edge like I originally have it, the butt's kind of going, you know, kind of off the page. In this picture, it's not really doing that. So if you wanted to draw this out, kind of like this, here, let me just put this here. Okay. You could do this. Okay. Here's the top. This is kind of, the neck kind of starts from the bottom of this circle. I'm just going to go to a point real fast. Then you can kind of gauge where you want your head to be. And then you put your little box. Okay. Okay, then you have your ears. And this will look a lot different once you start filling it in. Okay, so now I have the basics of this. I have my two circles here, my circle for the head, a little box for the nose. This is connecting, this is connecting. I have two legs here. Now I'm going to fill it in. And you'll kind of see it just a little bit better. And then we can add some of the details and kind of mess with the shape a little bit. I tend to make everything a little bit skinnier than I need them to be, so that I can adjust the shape of the horse as I go. Alright, now I don't like the way that that looks, so I'm just going to take some of this away. So I just got my clean brush wet. And I'm going to make these legs a little bit further apart. So that before I kind of had them in the same spot, and I think I want them apart this time. Like that. That looks better. Alright, so now I'm going to Cover this in. Go back to my filbert, fill this in. For this particular part, it's a little bit, I think I'm going to make the head just a little bit bigger. Then you kind of just fill in this area. Kind of brings it to life a little bit. Now, to get the angle of the horn, if you picture where this circle meets right here, this dot right here, you're gonna go through where the ears are, through that point, and that's where that's gonna be. So hopefully that makes sense. So there's a dot here, I'm gonna go through that. So just out this direction. Because when I originally was doing this, I did it kind of straight up and it looked funny. So avoid that step. Or if you're just doing a horse, then you don't have to worry about it. Alright, it is 6, so we're going to jam through the rest of this. If you want, you can have a little bit of a reflection that's right here. And then for the rest of this, it's going to be your liner brush. If you do not have a liner brush, that's okay. Just use your smallest brush. Just make sure that the paint that you're using, whether you're using your liner brush or your small brush, is kind of that thinner, easy to work with paint. So add a little bit of water to your mixture. And then when you're using a small brush, you're going to have to go in for paint more often. But make sure that when you do this, you're going to twist your brush to make sure that all of your lines, all of your bristles are together, okay? And that's going to really, really help in doing your thin lines, okay? All right. So now I'm gonna go ahead and grab my liner brush after I rinse out my thick brush. Everything else that we're doing is going to be with our liner brush. I forgot to, I think it's okay. I'm just gonna put just a little bit of that color on the clouds that we kind of forgot to do earlier. Just a little bit on the clouds. Okay. Okay, I'm gonna get my liner brush. Where did it go? Did I drop it? Where'd I go? I just had it. I actually don't know Where's my liner brush? Oh, it's underneath my paper towel. Okay. And this is the fun part. You get to spend as much time as you want doing this. This is where you get to add your grass, your hair, your horsehair. Add some horsehair here. Can add a little bit here. I didn't add that on the first one. Kind of like it. Looks more like a boy now. And then this is where you can have fun with your liner brush and just get all the grass. I'm going in pretty often for paint, and that's the trick with using either a liner brush or a small brush. Because people tend to want to push harder to get the paint out, but then that thickens the line. Alright, no worries. You can totally come back later. Have a great night. Yeah, and if you need to leave right now and come back and finish, that's totally fine. I know we're going a little bit late. And if you're noticing that your paints aren't thin enough, like when you put it on, there's like it's not going on very smoothly, and you don't have super thin lines, and you can kind of see through it, like you can see the texture. Add a little bit more water to your substance. Okay. Okay, so that's enough for that. And then we come to this. So you can go crazy on this. You can add as many branches as you want. I would try to encourage you to keep your branches like squiggly. So you'll notice here that they're all kind of crooked. Branches are crooked, and that's how they really look. So don't make them all perfectly straight. Add a bunch of little twigs, and that'll make it look more realistic. Also, don't be afraid of your branches like crossing each other. So right here, let me see. Right here, I'm gonna have one of these branches kind of come over here. Because in reality, that happens. You know, the branches aren't all perfectly lined up. And they're all kind of going over each other. So just one branch at a time. Add all your little your little tiny branches. And you're just gonna keep going. So you got all your branches in. And that's pretty much the end of class. I'm gonna make this, make my horn a little bit longer with my liner brush. But yeah, that's pretty much it. I hope you guys enjoyed this class. I had a lot of fun. And hopefully you learned something new, and you had a lot of fun. And I have, my next class is in 2 weeks. It is a palette knife class, so if you've never done a palette knife class, make sure to be there. If you want to give a tip, you totally can. I have all that information in the description as well as on the screen right now. Again, that's optional, you don't have to, but it does help for all these, it does help with the, with these free classes and everything. So, yeah, I hope you enjoy, and we'll see you in next class. I'm going to go ahead and just write my initials in the corner here. Let's see. I'm going to do it in white. Do my initials real quick, and then I will get out of your hair. And there we have it. Alright, I hope you guys have a wonderful night, and we'll see you next time. Have a great night.